Put the
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Retro Warriors, episode 264. Woo. As always, I'm your host, Justin Baker, and as always, I'm joined by resident old bastard, Chris Saturn.
hello.
Saturn, we do have housekeeping. As always, you can check the episode description for timestamps to jump to the topic at hand.
Right.
And that's it.
Also, we've been putting our episodes on YouTube now.
Yes, the episodes are on YouTube. Yes. So I don't have a link. Just go to YouTube and search Retro Warriors. It's on there. We're
search Retro Warriors podcast. Because if you go to youtube.com/Retro Warriors, it's somebody else. That's not us.
Yeah, it's not us. We don't have the slug. Someone took it.
Yeah.
And now we cannot have it.
It's a shame.
So whoever that is, I won't buy it from you. Don't even offer.
Nope.
So just stop.
We don't got the money or the patience.
I get the guy that owns RetroWarriors.com trying to sell it to me all the time. And every time I send him like really dumb offers for like a half a day before he stops emailing me.
But how will he sell his Retro Warriors merchandise?
I'll be like, I'll give you $5. And he'll email me for a little bit about the $5. And then eventually he'll realize that I really am only offering him $5 and he'll get mad. And then he'll forget and email me again later in the year.
Nice.
So I look forward to your email, owner of RetroWarriors.com, which is not our website. Our website is RetroWarriors.net.
Right.
Housekeeping now over and as pointless as ever. My week, I've been playing Tales of Symphonia.
Yes, the first one.
Yes, on GameCube.
Right.
I got my GameCube HDMI adapter. I got Tales of Symphonia in the mail because I bought it because it was cheap and it was an RPG on GameCube. And I was like, I want this now. And I did. I got it.
Right.
And I knew nothing about any of the Tales games. I've never looked at any of them. Knew literally zero.
Then that's weird that you jumped into that one.
Well, I have no defense. I was just on a YouTube video one day and some guy was like, man, Tales of Symphonia was great on GameCube. And I was like, oh, okay. And it was like $11 like shipped for the game, like some crazy low amount of money.
Yeah, it's probably the closest I've gotten to getting into any of the Tales games.
I've been thoroughly enjoying it because we've discussed on the Discord before. I don't know about the show proper, but I have trouble meshing with a lot of modern JRPGs.
Right.
Specifically, I have trouble meshing with a lot of anime tropes, which are pretty prevalent in the JRPG space.
Right. Sometimes more than they should be.
Right. And certainly more than they used to be, but they used to not be so prevalent just because of technical limitations. It's hard to make a 16-bit RPG look like an anime, you know? Right. So you emulate the bits that you can, but it's going to be distinctly its own thing, kind of no matter what you do.
Right.
And that said, I was warned. People were like, "Oh, Tales of Symphonia, that's super anime. You be forewarned." And you know what? For whatever reason, I don't mind the heavy anime tropes whatsoever in the game. Nice. I'm totally engaged with the story. I'm in it. I'm like enjoying it and the characters. I love that literally not one character is like sexualized for no reason. Like nobody's just like got, you know, like their bikini chainmail or their ass hanging out for literally no reason.
Right. I feel like that might have happened in the second Tales of Symphonia, if I remember right.
I have no idea because I still know nothing about the franchise as a whole. And I was thoroughly impressed to find out that the battle system is real time. It's like this sort of beat 'em up thing that I'm really enjoying.
Yeah, the team that made the Tales series was this group called Wolf Team, and they were commissioned by Namco to make the first Tales of Symphonia. And apparently there was some like bad blood falling out in the development of Tales of Symphonia because just before it released, a whole bunch of them split off. Like a lot of Wolf Team split off to form Tri-Ace, who made all the Star Ocean games, which is why those two series play so similarly, and they both have that same kind of quasi RPG beat 'em up active real-time battle system.
Now I did run into a point where I realized that the save points are the way dungeons have worked so far is you get halfway through a dungeon and sometimes there's a save point. Other times you get all the way up to the boss and there's a save point. Now here's the thing, if you die in the game, you die in real life, Saturn. Now, if you die in the game, you jump back to the last time you saved. It's a full game over. It's not like a lot of modern games that let you retry battles and stuff. And so I found myself having to sit through cutscenes over and over when I would die. And so I immediately was like, I don't know if I want to be replaying stuff.
Right.
But at that point I was in like this JRPG mode, and I was like, well, I still was liking the active battle system. I want a game that has that.
Right.
And I picked up Star Ocean on your recommendation on Switch, the Switch port, because it's cheap right now.
Right.
And I have been intending to play it, and I like the battle system in that, but did not like it nearly as much because there was no block button.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
And I know that sounds really petty and weird, but just having the block button mixes up the combat enough that it doesn't just feel like straight button mashing.
See, I have a bad habit in any game that has a block button of immediately forgetting that the block button is there.
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat, Smash Brothers, whatever. If it has a block button, I will immediately forget that it exists. So I've probably played several dozen hours of Tales games and never even noticed that there was a block button.
Yeah, and for all I know, this is the only one with it. Because again, it's the only one I've played.
Well, Symphonia is the one I've played the most of.
I did find myself, after going through all of that, jumping back to Tales of Symphonia anyway, just because I'm enjoying the combat that much, and I'm enjoying the characters that much. I'm just having a really good time with it.
Yeah,
I don't know that I'm going to finish it because I think
remaster. I might have to jump into that again.
Yeah, apparently, because I almost got the PC port because it's like $4.
Right.
But apparently there's some stability issues that were never fully fixed, and it runs at 30 FPS as opposed to the GameCube's 60.
Yeah, I have it on PS3, so...
Okay, PS3 port, I think, is what the PC version is based off of.
Right.
So, as far as issues, I don't know. It's probably fine.
Right.
So, yeah, I ended up going back to Tales of Symphonia after playing it for a bit and realizing, I don't know if I have the want to do the time sync, and then ended up playing more of it anyway because I'm just thoroughly enjoying all of the game.
Very nice.
I also got a new 2DS XL. And I transferred all of my stuff from my new 3DS XL to my new 2DS XL. Mostly because my new 3DS XL was getting kind of old and beat up because I just played so many hundreds of hours of games on it. And the new 2DS XL is lighter and smaller and nicer looking and matte finished. And it's just overall, hardware-wise, a lot nicer than the new 3DS XL, in my opinion.
I do really like my new 2DS XL. My new 3DS XL is also matte finish because I have the Super Nintendo version.
Yeah. And the biggest thing for me was the weight. It is so much lighter,
right?
That it's just nicer to hold.
Yeah.
Obviously, I lose out on the 3D, but I didn't really ever use the 3D anyway.
Right.
I would do this thing where every time I'd play 3DS after having not played for a while, I would turn it on and be like, "Oh
just
yeah, that's cool."
It.
I'm gonna turn it off again.
Yeah, pretty much.
And the new 2DS XLs, I've said before on the show recently, like if you're wanting to get into 3DS stuff and you want to get a 3DS, like the hardware games are going to be on the market for a while, just because there was a lot of them, they're going to be around, but the hardware is getting scooped up fast.
Yeah.
And so I picked up it was $100 for a new 2DS XL, which is,
I believe, is what they sell the refurbished new 2DS XL for on Nintendo's website.
It is, yeah. And if you're a 3DS fan, I highly recommend the new 2DS XL. And I've been playing Fantasy Zone 2W, the Tears of Opa Opa.
I'm sorry, the notes say that you're playing Fat Nasty Zone.
Pardon me. I've been playing Fat Nasty Zone 2. Fantasy Zone 2, I got my new 2DS and I wanted to play something on it, and I didn't want to play something that took a lot of time, so I fired up Fantasy Zone 2. And man, what a great shmup! Just a really great game.
I need to give it more of a chance because after you mentioned it today, I powered it up on my new 2DS XL, and immediately got my ass kicked by the very first boss. So
they're tough. They're tough games, both the Fantasy Zone games. 2 less so, especially the M2 port on 3DS, which is the version of the game I heavily recommend. From what I understand, it takes portions of both the Master System version and the arcade version and kind of smushes them into their own third version, which M2 has done before on some of these games.
Right.
but it includes an endless mode, which is great, and it has a coin bank. So when you game over, you gain these lifetime coins that when you start the game, you can take money out of your coin bank to start the game with to get like a big jump start.
Nice.
But just a stellar game, a stellar port by M2, super duper fun.
It's so surprising to see M2 do an amazing port.
Yeah, right.
Oh wait,
that's never happened.
Right.
Yeah, and really all the 3D classics that they did on 3DS, I so very heavily recommend.
Right.
And still need to get more of the Sega Ages that they've been doing on Switch.
Right.
Because I'm sure I would recommend those as well.
Right.
But that's about all I've been up to this week.
So I haven't been doing a lot, but I did make sure to note in our notes, if you aren't in our Discord server,
you should be.
One, you should be. And two, you need to go to YouTube and look for Johnny Arcade previews Capcom's Mega Man 3 at WCES Las Vegas circa 1991. Because, one, it's Video Power, that show that we discussed like a year ago or something.
We did an episode on it.
But it's that second season after it stopped being the game show and the cartoon and everything and was just like weird kid reviews things. And
that's the name of my YouTube channel.
What's that?
That's the name of my YouTube channel, Weird Kid Reviews Things.
That's true, I know. You stole it from him. But he encounters this dude in a Mega Man costume.
Now, hold on. I want to stop here. Because when you say Mega Man costume, I want everyone to realize that what you imagine is a regular man wearing like a helmet and some spandex.
Right.
Maybe a little bit of makeup to make him look a little more happier Mega Man-y.
Yeah, so like the body portion is pretty much that, only it's a slightly out of shape dude.
Yeah.
And then instead of just like a helmet, he's wearing like this full head piece that looks like it's paper mache or something, and it has these lifeless hollow eyes with no eyelids and super tiny meticulously drawn baby mouth that doesn't move.
It hits that uncanny valley at its like deepest point.
And he immediately high fives Johnny Arcade and then silently points at an NES to instruct him to go play it. And it's the eeriest, most bizarre shit ever.
It's horrifying. We've named him Megan Man, and he's an emoji in our server now.
He is. So you can come and share in Megan Man with us. Also, Justin had been talking so much about playing GameCube stuff that I jumped to my Wii, where I have my USB loader and everything. And when I was digging through all my games that I've largely ripped from my own GameCube and Wii discs, but there was a couple that I added on there, and some of them I've played a bit, and some I keep forgetting to get to. And among them is the 3 Triforce arcade games, Mario Kart Arcade GP, Mario Kart Arcade GP2, and F-Zero AX. And I had played F-Zero AX in an arcade once, and then tried to load it on Dolphin several times and never got anywhere. Like it's supposed to be compatible, but I could just never get it to load for some reason. And I kept putting off loading it on my Wii because I was afraid it wouldn't load. But no, it loads beautifully. It plays great. It is an excellent F-Zero game right alongside GX. And if you haven't played it, what a great way to play it on your Wii so that you can use a proper GameCube or Wii controller.
Right.
But really, it makes me sad that Sega and Nintendo have not revisited F-Zero since, because AX and GX were just a great pair.
I think Nintendo came out a while back and said something along the lines of, we don't have any new ideas for the franchise.
Right.
Basically, they were like, Sega did it better than we can.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, sorry.
And then Sega disbanded the team that made it, so what you gonna do?
Let's knock out some news. Yeah. First up, intrepid programmers get doomed to run in Windows Server's Task Manager via the CPU load status indicators and ran it on an 896-core Intel Xeon Platinum.
Yeah, which isn't the most cores you can get on a Xeon Platinum, actually.
So, thus proving that Doom can be ported to anything, including Windows Task Manager. Chris Kohler has left Kotaku, says he will be ending his 24-year career in media. So I'm sad to see him leaving games media because he's been a wonderful voice for many years.
A lot of people in games media leaving right now.
There are a lot. It does seem like games media is in a very weird state right now. Basically, if you're running a traditional games media website, I can't imagine it's anything but a ghost town compared to what it was even just 5 or 10 years ago.
Well, it feels like they're kind of starting to do that thing that Forbes does where they just accept articles from who the fuck ever.
It does seem that way sometimes.
Yeah.
So we wish all the best to Chris Kohler. I was on a podcast with Chris Kohler one time, long time ago.
Nice.
He's a very nice and nice to be around person. So I wish him well. There's no way in hell he remembers me. NIS America announces that they are required to move Danganronpa Vita games. What?
Remove.
What did I say?
You said move.
Required to remove Danganronpa Vita games from PSN in September. Spike Chunsoft will be taking over publishing the games in the West, and it is unannounced if Vita games will return to PSN after the rights get handed off.
Yeah. So already physical copies of the game have started spiking in price.
Of course they have.
Yeah.
But you can still buy it on PSN right now.
Yeah, through September.
Through September. So,
and I think they're already on Steam.
Yeah, they are definitely on Steam.
Yeah.
Konami and Google announced Super Bomberman R Online, an updated version of Super Bomberman R that supports up to 64 players in simultaneous tournaments to be released first on Stadia.
Now, my first reaction to this is to laugh because both Konami and Stadia are hilarious at this point.
Yes.
However, there is a video that Konami shows on their website that shows that if you're watching a tournament in progress on YouTube, which apparently Stadia will be hosting them all on YouTube because why the fuck not, there will be a button right next to the subscribe button that says join now. That if you own Super Bomberman R Online, you click join now and it just starts the game in a separate browser tab so that you can immediately be playing in that tournament if there's an open spot.
That sounds fun, but I don't know that it sounds paying for the game on the Stadia platform fun.
Yeah, and especially since they haven't set a price yet. And knowing Konami, I'm guessing 40 to 60.
Yeah, I'd guess the same.
Yeah.
Fans make a 2D demake of Bloodborne called Yarntown that plays like a top-down Zelda game, and it looked really good.
Yeah, I'm tempted to check it out.
Nintendo Direct Mini reconfirms Shin Megami Tensei 5 and announces an HD remaster of Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne, which is also coming to PS4. And Cadence of Hyrule was announced to be getting a physical release and some new DLC, and the physical release is coming in late October.
Yes.
They've reconfirmed SMT5 for, was that 2021?
And simultaneous release worldwide. That's a big thing for SMT fans.
It's a first for SMT, isn't it?
Or for any of its spinoffs, too.
Yeah. HAL Laboratory is relocating to Nintendo's new building, also increasing their head count.
Now,
so
keep in mind,
that's good.
HAL Laboratory is still a separate company. They are not owned by Nintendo. They just work incredibly closely with them.
Yeah. They're what a lot of people call second-party companies.
Well, they're not even technically second-party yet because they're still separately, independently owned. Yeah.
Is Game Freak second-party, or are they still independent?
Game Freak just put out another game on Xbox not long ago.
Oh, yeah, they did, didn't they?
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Right?
Like everyone else forgets about every non-Pokemon Game Freak game.
Pretty much.
Weird. Fantasy Strike and Rocket League have both gone free to play. Rocket League is now disallowing new downloads on Steam. I don't believe it's new downloads. I think it's just new purchases. Isn't it?
Well, since you don't purchase anymore, anyone going forward wouldn't purchase. They would just download. And anybody who has not already purchased it will not be able to acquire it through Steam.
And I know Fantasy Strike is still settling into their new free-to-play thing. They're having some issues getting everything off the ground.
Right. Some of the console publishers are giving them some pushback about what can or cannot be converted from the prior pay model to the new free model, etc.
And with Rocket League, it's just yet another bad business decision on top of all the other bad business decisions they've made with Rocket League since Epic purchased Psyonix.
Yeah.
But what are you going to do?
Right.
A video converter has been released for the Mega EverDrive Pro, so you can watch any video on your Sega Genesis.
Yeah, somebody showed they were playing the entire Sonic the Hedgehog movie.
Don't know why you'd want to do it.
It looks great in the Genesis's 64 on-screen colors.
Pokken Tournament DX will be free to play from July 29th through August 4th. And I'm excited for this. That was one of those games that, like, I kind of want to try it, but I don't $60 want to try it.
Yeah, and for people listening to the uncut, you still have a chance. For people who are not listening to the uncut, I'm sorry, August 4th already happened.
I hope you played it and made your decision before you listened to this then. There was an Xbox Games showcase. They did show a bunch of stuff on the pre-show. They advertised that Dragon Quest XI-S is coming to PS4, Steam, Xbox One, Windows 10, and Game Pass.
Nice.
They announced new Fable, new Forza. Obsidian announced a bunch of shit. New DLC for Outer Worlds.
Right.
They basically showed off what looks like it's going to be an Obsidian-made Elder Scrolls game, which I'm super down for.
Right.
And then a bunch of other stuff. No word on Battletoads, which is unfortunate. But beyond that, Psychonauts 2 was announced, which was
nice. Well, it had already been announced, but they finally showed
had it been announced? Yeah. But other than that, it was okay.
Also, unrelated, they announced that the Halo TV series is well into shooting its first season.
Yeah, which someone in the server was like, I didn't even know they were making one, and I was like, I don't either, but it makes sense.
Right.
The writer of original 2 Suikoden games announces Eiyuden, Eiyuden, I'm guessing Eiyuden.
I think it's Eiyuden.
Chronicle?
Yeah.
Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes, which will launch on Kickstarter later this month and is targeting a fall 2022 release. It's basically a lot of Suikoden alum that worked on. Some of them worked on the Tactics game, and one of them worked on Suikoden 4.
Right.
It's just a bunch of Suikoden guys basically making a new Suikoden and not calling it Suikoden because they don't
because Konami.
The rights, because Konami.
Yeah.
Viz Media is printing an Ask Iwata book. Well, not an Ask Iwata, but the Ask Iwata book in English, targeting a spring 2021 release. I'm very excited for this. This came out earlier this year in Japan. And it's basically just a bunch of interviews with Iwata.
Which is exciting. I'm down.
I'm very excited for that. And then finally, another Nintendo leak. Which has been dubbed the Giga Leak. And there's a lot of stuff in this.
Yeah,
We've got full development repositories for an official DS emulator, Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. Yeah. We've got stuff for the Net Card, which was a canceled GBA peripheral, Game Boy Advance BIOS, Game Boy Color boot ROMs, full master ROM database for Famicom and NES, including ROMs.
Yeah.
Master ROM and maybe source code of Super Mario RPG. We have source code to Star Fox 2, Star Fox, Link's Awakening, DX, Wild Tracks, Yoshi's Island, Mario Kart, F-Zero, Legend of Zelda, Link to the Past, Super Mario All-Stars, potentially including Mario World, the Wii Virtual Console Game Boy emulator.
Which never even got any games.
Some weird game prototype, which I heard talk might be Yoshi's Island.
Yeah.
Super Mario Kart prototypes, full development repository, Wii Shop channel server-side source code.
Yeah.
Mini tape backups, several Super Mario World 2 prototypes. Yeah. Just
and it looks like the last leak. It looks like this is a part of the last leak. Actually, they said there was another part coming, and it looks like this is that.
I don't know who's like running out of the front door of Nintendo with boxes of shit, but
it's not Nintendo leaking. It appears to be IQ that is leaking.
Oh, so IQ being the company that they paired with to release the
that they still basically own in China that still releases Switch stuff with Tencent. But they had intentionally they had originally intended for that netcard for the GBA to be a China exclusive thing to let you trade Pokemon with people anywhere in the country. And that got canceled, of course, but they do have some information about that, which is neat. And I wonder if somebody can incorporate that idea into an emulator.
And of course, anyone working in the emulator space would not touch any of this with a 10-foot pole. Because the second you start using proprietary information in your source code, then all of a sudden you're going to get a C&D from Nintendo.
Oh yeah.
But I do think as we distance ourselves from these leaks and as they become less of a legal minefield over time, we might see some of these ideas trickle into projects that are available, which would be nice.
Or at the very least, we might see some of this information from some of the source code that's coming out going into learning projects rather than commercial projects.
But I mean, just source code to Yoshi's Island, Link to the Past, Mario All-Stars, like just those alone, those are massive games.
Oh, yeah.
To have their source code out there.
Yeah.
And my first thought was, man, Link to the Past source code, the randomizer and related projects are going to get so good. Then I was like, well, they probably can't.
Well, one, they probably couldn't use it. And two, I don't know how they're going to improve from where they're at.
Also true. And with that, we're going to get into our topic at hand. This week, we are talking licensed promotional games.
Yes.
And as far as just kind of a summary in scope, we're kind of talking about the colliding of video games and advertisements specifically. So sometimes these were available freely to advertise a product. Other times they had a cost involved to force children to use their hard-earned money to learn more about Domino's Pizza. But specifically, we're not looking at licensed games, but licensed promotional games. Games that were made maybe not exclusively, but largely with the intent to advertise a product.
Yes, this is stuff not necessarily advertising another piece of media like a film or a movie or a book or a TV show or whatever. This is explicitly advertising something that they want you to buy, some consumer product.
So Jaws on NES is out,
right?
But McKids on NES is in,
right?
Let's do some listener feedback. First up is Elk Neodaffs, who says, I had Spot, the video game on NES, which modified the board game Go and used the 7-Up mascot as checkers.
Yes.
As a kid, I was impressed with all of his animations when he'd move across the board. Later, a friend and I became super invested in Cool Spot on Genesis. I'd sleep over at his house and we'd just play it for hours. Eventually, we grew apart, but Cool Spot remained in my collection.
Nice.
Even though it was a simple mascot platformer, it was very well made, and again, the animations were on point. There's something about David Perry games that suits the Genesis better than the Super Nintendo. After 20 years, I reunited with my Cool Spot friend, and the first thing we did was fire up the Genesis to play.
Nice.
Rygar Starkong writes in, of all the promotional games I've played, there's one that sticks out the most. Allow me to set the stage. A chilly New England afternoon in autumn, and I've got an NES hooked up to a Blockbuster store TV, and I'm playing Yo Noid.
Oh.
Yes, that lovable little claymation fella that always tries to stop Domino's pizza delivery drivers from delivering piping hot pies. And that is important to mention because nobody under the age of like 30 knows who Yo Noid is.
Don't worry, I explain all that stuff later.
I also happened to work at Domino's Pizza at the time, and I was going to be leaving the video store in a couple hours to start my Domino's shift. One of my Domino's coworkers came into the store and saw the game and completely lost his shit. He couldn't believe there was a Domino's Pizza video game. He immediately demanded to rent it, went home, grabbed his NES, and brought it back to the pizza shop. When I arrived for my shift a couple hours later, I found that the delivery drivers had a Yo Noid tournament brewing in the back room. Naturally, I joined the festivities, and it was an absolutely amazing night. Cool Hand Stan Man writes in, I played Chex Quest for hours. It had an expansion pack that you could download from their website. I remember reinstalling the game in the early 2000s and looking for the expansion, and it was gone. These next two write-ins are my favorite. TamChan87 writes in, Pepsi Man.
He also spelled it out like he was singing it, like from the theme song.
Yeah. Yeah.
I see you skipped that part.
I did skip that part. IG Amazing Bob writes in, Cool Spot was fun.
Perfect.
So again, to clarify in scope, we are looking at promotional games put out to advertise companies or products directly.
Right. And initially we planned on just looking at those promo games that were put out. But in retrospect, aside from the cost to the consumer, there's not really much to distinguish those games from the games that were released commercially to advertise those products. So we decided we might as well just look at those two.
So Saturn, I'm just going to let you start listing them.
Yeah. So let's start.
And are these are not in any real order, are they?
No, not really, no.
Okay.
We're kind of in the order that I remembered them. And at one point I was like, I'm going to put these in order of release. And I was like, fuck, no, I'm not.
That'd be more effort than they put into most of these games.
Right.
So don't do that.
So we'll start with Chase the Chuck Wagon, which is possibly the first ever game of this type.
What about the game starring the Quaker Oats man?
Was there a game with the Quaker Oats man?
There was.
I believe there was.
Assure you, but I don't know anything about it, and I've heard about Chase the Chuck Wagon, and I don't even know the name of the Quaker Oats man's game.
Right. But yeah, now that you say it, I do believe that was a thing. Anyway, back to Chase the Chuck Wagon. It was developed by a guy named Mike Schwartz with a company called ICOM TMQ. It was published by Spectravision on behalf of Ralston Purina. And it was published in 1983 on the Atari 2600. And it was it could only be obtained via mail order by sending in proofs of purchase from dog food packages. You couldn't just buy it in a store.
So for kids that are younger than me, because I barely remember this era of consumerism.
Sure.
For a long time, product loyalty programs looked like this.
Yes.
You would get a proof of purchase from your product, usually your carton of Marlboro cigarettes.
Right.
And you'd collect enough of them, and they had this big catalog that you'd look and be like, oh, a Marlboro jacket is only 500 cartons of Marlboros. I smoked that much in a month.
I believe they called them Marlboro Miles.
And then you mail all of your proofs of purchases into the company, and they mail you a product. And a ton of companies did this all the time.
That's how I had a Joe Camel jacket in second grade.
That you smoked that many Camels in second grade?
No, somebody else smoked them for me. I just got the jacket.
Anyway, I just wanted to clarify that this was the thing.
Right,
It isn't like this one dog food. Ralston Purina didn't come up with the idea of like, well, if they buy enough dog food, we'll give them a video game. Like, it was a thing.
But yeah, so for the people not watching commercials in the 70s and early 80s.
Yeah, me. I didn't know this was to advertise a product at all.
So Purina Dog Chow was being advertised with this little tiny horse-drawn chuck wagon. Like they would come up to your ankles, basically. And the commercials would show dogs see this little tiny wagon in their house that was just like superimposed green screen onto somebody's house. And then the dogs would lose their shit and chase this wagon around their house until they ended up where their food bowl was located, and the wagon would just dissolve into a bowl of Purina dog chow. And
oh man,
I don't know how
a lot
that
of cocaine in that era, kids.
Food.
That's
right. That was 80s advertising, 70s advertising, really. But yeah, the game is basically just a maze game where you navigate a dog to a chuck wagon and avoid a dog catcher. It's basically Pac-Man.
I didn't play all of these games because I don't hate myself enough, but I did play Chase the Chuck Wagon.
Yeah.
So I've already got the creme de la creme.
Yeah.
But let me ask you about the game. So it is a maze, and you are a dog navigating a maze, and at the top of the screen is the chuck wagon. It took me a long time to figure out that I'm wanting to get to the chuck wagon because I didn't know anything about Chase the Chuck Wagon or about this commercial.
Yeah.
So I was coming into it blind. And then on the screen, you have a red thing bouncing back and forth all over the screen.
Right. I believe that's the dog catcher.
And then you have a man.
Oh, that's the dog catcher.
And I thought I was supposed to catch the man.
No, you're supposed to chase the chuck wagon.
For the longest damn time. Yeah, but the man was running, and I was like, well, the man is going to sit on the chuck wagon, so I need to collect the man and then take me and the man to the chuck wagon. No. And if the man is supposed to be chasing me, then he's doing the worst job ever because I could not catch him. I tried for so long and could not catch the only bad guy in the game who was supposed to be chasing me.
Well, after you've bought enough dog food to send in your proofs of purchase, maybe they didn't want to make it that hard on you.
And then whatever the red thing is bouncing around kept hitting me and slowing me down and lowering my score. But I didn't die because it's Atari.
Yeah.
And
much.
So I thought that thing, the whole point of the game was to chase the man and catch him with as high a score as possible, meaning I got hit as little as possible, and then go to the chuck wagon.
Yeah. I don't
Never caught the fucking guy.
Yeah, I don't think
could not catch him.
Maybe he doesn't become aggressive in the first level. I
finally lowered my score to 0 and said, fuck it, and went to the chuck wagon. And it was like, you win. And I was like, oh. So that was my review of Chase the Chuck Wagon.
So 5 out of 7?
5 out of 7. Perfect score.
Next, we got Chex Quest and Chex Quest HD.
Yep.
Developed by Digital Cafe, published by Ralston Purina.
Yet again!
The remake was developed by Team Chex Quest HD and Flight School Studio and published by General Mills, who has since bought the rights to Chex from Ralston Purina.
A cereal company, a Chex Quest team, and a flight school.
Yeah, apparently a flight school.
Perfect. Yeah, Flight School Studio. I'm sure it's just a game studio.
Right.
But what a weird name. Flight School Studio. What do you do? Make video games? That seems wrong. For who? Cereal companies?
Pretty much.
What?
Well, that's how video game naming works these days. You just have to roll with it.
Yeah.
There was that too long of a joke on Family Guy like 15 years ago now, where they go to see a movie in the theater and there's like 20 studio logos at the beginning of the film. I think video games are getting to that point now.
Pretty much.
But yeah, so for those who were not watching commercials in the early 90s, it's fine. I don't know what the fuck Chex Quest had to do with anything. It had nothing to do with their commercials.
Yeah, it didn't tie into any marketing. It had nothing to do with anything. They were just like, Doom clones. Let's make a Doom clone.
Yeah.
Because the game is a Doom clone. It's running on the Doom engine, I assume.
Yeah, it just has some custom WADs thrown in there.
It's just, and people are going to get offended when I say this, because Chex Quest has become a thing.
It's beloved now.
People love Chex Quest, and Chex Quest HD is not even trying to advertise Chex. No one gives a fuck about Chex anymore. It's 2020, okay? We've got Frosted Flakes with Lucky Charms in them. We don't care about Chex. People care more about the game than they do Chex.
Right.
Which was a cereal.
Yeah. And
also mixed in with a bunch of other things to make a salty snack food to diversify their snack portfolio. But listen, it's not a good game. It's just really bad Doom.
Yeah, it wasn't great to begin with, and age has not done it any favors.
I know people have a lot of nostalgia for it, and you know what? At the end of the day, it's just Doom. If you didn't have Doom, it's great. Fun. It's Doom.
There is a mini documentary about the game on YouTube for anybody who is curious. If you want to find out about the development and creation and licensing of Chex Quest, it's out there.
Yeah. And the game is extremely blatant, you know. Big Chex logos everywhere. You appear to be in the Chex corporate office, as if Chex had its own corporate office.
Yeah, it's a division of Ralston Purina. They've got their own office.
Yeah. It's just not great.
No.
It's really not.
And there was a sequel, Chex Quest 2, Fleamoids Take Chextropolis, which was released for free in 97. And former Digital Cafe staff also developed Chex Quest 3 in 2008 as a fan game.
As far as video games I got in a disappointing box of Chex, it's pretty far up there quality-wise.
Right.
Okay, I'll say that.
Worthy of 2 sequels, right?
Of all the video games that I could have taken out of a box of Chex for free, I'd rather take this out than some Chex. I'll say that too.
And one time I got a Windows 98 copy of Clue, the board game, with a box of might have been Cinnamon Toast Crunch or something. I think that was a better PC game to receive with cereal, personally.
I'd rather have a higher volume of Cinnamon Toast Crunch in my box than Clue on PC.
But yeah, as we mentioned, Team Chex Quest HD, which included former Digital Cafe art director and lead artist Charles Jacoby, had announced Chex Quest HD in 2016, which was to be officially licensed by General Mills, and it didn't release until May 18th of this year of 2020. So there was a 4-year development cycle on Chex Quest HD.
Now, I've not looked at any of the reviews or anything for the new one. Is it just the same Doom clone thing, or have they actually diversified?
So far as I'm aware, it is the same Doom clone, but with HD graphics.
God damn it. Even Doom isn't doing Doom anymore. All right. That's Chex Quest. Yeah. It's Doom. You can play it.
And the new one is free on Steam, by the way. So if you are morbidly curious, you can go grab it right now.
It actually costs less than the original because the original cost you a box of Chex.
That's true. You had to buy Chex that you wouldn't eat because they were Chex.
Yeah. But do they even make... I mean, I'm sorry. Like, if you like Chex, I'm sorry. But when I go to cereal, especially in the 90s, I wasn't looking for unsweetened cereals. Did they ever even have a sweetened version of Chex?
Yeah. There was chocolate Chex at one point.
I don't believe you.
I don't remember what else. But I'm sure there was some sort of frosted Chex. That sounds like a thing that happened.
Frosted Chex? I feel like if Frosted Chex were a thing, I would be. We talk about cereal a lot on Talking Wizards. Okay, we're having a little bit of crossover content right now. We should have Andrew here. Oh my God, they do have Frosted Chex.
Oh, there we go. Perfect.
Oh, first question on Google. Why did they stop making Frosted Chex?
Exactly.
Over the past few decades, some beloved Chex flavors have come and gone.
Yeah.
Frosted Chex, Strawberry Chex, and originally, this is the last on Chex Quest, I swear to God. Originally, Chex was called Shredded Ralston, which sounds like a disease a pirate would get. Yar, I got the shredded Ralston.
I was out at sea too long and got the shredded Ralston.
One kid is like, Mom, can we get more shredded Ralston? I need some
thanks, Ralston Purina. We needed this segment.
Oh, what's next?
Oh, so next we have Big Bumpin', Pocket Bike Racer, and Sneak King.
These are fucking weird games.
Yes. So they were developed by Blitz Games and published by Burger King. Now, if you haven't heard of Blitz Games, that's probably normal. But they developed Pac-Man World 3. They developed several SpongeBob games. So they had gotten work before. And then they did this. For people who were not watching commercials in the mid-2000s, Burger King introduced this horrifying character wearing a rubber mask of the king.
Right.
They might still use it. I have no idea.
I believe they still use the king, but specifically in the early or the mid-2000s, they did these commercials where like the king would be standing by your bed holding a burger while you're sleeping. Like these kind of like creepy, goofy, off-putting commercials. Now it's just him and he's like, all right, eat a burger. He doesn't talk. I don't know. It's not as creepy.
Right. All three games notably have Xbox and Xbox 360 versions on the same disc. They don't run in compatibility mode. It's actually two different versions of the game. And so far as I'm aware, that's the only Xbox combo Xbox 360 games out there.
Yeah.
All three games were offered from November 19th, 2006 through December 24th for the cost of $3.99 when you purchased a value meal.
Now, I do want to say for people that may not know, this was a thing at Burger King, especially in the 90s, where Burger King would they would offer things they sold, like commemorative glasses or plates or figures or whatever thing. So you go to McDonald's
did it for a while there too. They had those Batman Forever glasses back in the mid-90s.
I feel like Burger King always did it. I feel like they did it more frequently.
They did it,
but really,
they did it at a higher caliber than McDonald's was. They had gold-plated Pokemon cards.
I went to Burger King and got all the gold-plated Pokemon cards. You'd go in there, you'd buy a meal, and then if you bought a meal, they would give you the option to purchase this little like tchotchke that you could get. for however much money.
Yeah.
And so it was a thing. It's not that bizarre that they were selling these games for $4 on top of
Still pretty bizarre.
Yeah, the games are.
So yeah, you get your 3 games. You got Big Bumpin', which is bumper cars, only with the king in it. You got Pocket Bike Racer, which is a kart racer style bike racing starring an actual NASCAR driver, if I remember right. I don't remember who it was, but it was some like actual professional driver lady. And then you have Sneak King, which is a, quote, stealth burger delivery simulator.
Because in the commercials, the king would just be standing next to your bed with a burger.
Right?
And you wouldn't know how he got there. Go ahead.
Yeah, Burger King reported that 3.2 million copies of these games were sold during the 5-week release window.
Oh my God. I worked at GameStop in this era. They were tremendously popular and tremendously resold.
Oh, yeah. Well,
they were all over the place.
You could finish them in an hour.
Oh, yeah. They're not long games.
No.
Do not go seeking them for a masterful Burger King experience.
I checked the other day, and you could get a set of all 3 of them on eBay for like $5.
That's not bad. I bet you in like 10 years, they're going for like $70 each.
I imagine, yeah. It's just the weirdest shit.
What's next?
So next we have Yo-Noid, as several people mentioned. I think several people mentioned in the write-in.
At least one.
Yeah, so it was developed by Now Production, published by Capcom, released November 22nd of 1990. In Japan, it was released as Kamen no Ninja Hanamaru, and in the West, it was branded with Domino's Pizza's Noid.
The Noid.
So, for those not watching commercials in 1990, Domino's had this promotion going on at the time where all pizzas would be delivered within 30 minutes of being ordered, or the pizza would be free. And the Noid was a claymation character that would attempt to destroy the pizzas and interfere with Domino's cooks and delivery drivers to keep people from getting their pizzas on time. And their slogan at the time was, "Avoid the Noid."
Don't worry, it was stupid then, too.
Yeah, it really was. You can still find those commercials on YouTube. They don't make any sense.
He's horrifying. The Noid himself, they should have repurposed him into like a fearful children's character like the Boogeyman.
Right?
He was scary looking and weird.
Yeah, they could have made a horror movie out of that. The game itself is based on the engine from Namco's Wagonland, and plays somewhat similarly. Apparently Now Production also produced that for Namco and then was making a game for Capcom. They're like, fuck it, we'll just reuse this exact same game engine.
This is the 80s. We can basically do whatever we want with video games.
Exactly. And by the way, Yo-Noid was the second Noid-based video game.
What?
Originally, you had the 1989 PC game Avoid the Noid.
Ah, I see.
Yeah.
The classic 89 PC game Avoid the Noid.
Yeah, it was not as popular as Yo-Noid, and I didn't even bother to look up any footage of it. That's how excited I was by it.
I was too young to know the Noid. It was never I wasn't really like remembering commercials I saw until 97, 98 probably, We had a rubber Noid keychain. Oh my God. So I thought for years that Yo-Noid was just like another TV mascot character, like not for a company, but like from some failed children's TV show.
Nope.
Because the way people talk about mascot platformers from the 90s, there were also mascot TV shows because everyone wanted to be Ninja Turtles.
Mm-hmm.
So you would have some like dumb thing and they'd be like Bonkers is a great example. You remember Bonkers?
Yeah, it was part of the Disney Afternoon. He was on the beat.
Yes, it was part of the Disney Afternoon. And it was dumb.
Yeah.
It was a dumb show about an annoying dumb cat.
Yep, I hated it.
So
Bonkers was the signal that it was time to change the channel.
Yeah. So I played this, the NES version of Yo-Noid.
Yeah.
It's all right. I mean,
okay.
It's a platformy game. It's inoffensive.
Like compared to most NES games, it's okay. It's passing. Compared to most
I played
Capcom
it over like
NES
Little
games.
Red Hood or Action 52 or
right.
What bad games,
Right.
but it's not something I'd pick up.
Yeah, I mean,
instead of like, I'm not going to be like, no Ninja Gaiden for me today. I'm playing Yo Noid.
It certainly didn't stack up to what Capcom was used to putting out, though.
No, certainly not.
Then we have 4 games that all feature 7-Up's Spot.
Yeah.
So for those not watching commercials in 1990, 7-Up decided to animate the red spot that appears in their logo between the 7 and the word up and make it into an anthropomorphic character.
And they don't still do that anymore, correct? I think they've retired that entirely.
I believe so. I thought they retired it in the 90s, didn't they?
Probably.
I feel like they stopped using the spot around the time they started the Make 7-Up Yours campaign.
Yeah, I think I definitely don't remember it from that campaign forward, but whether they stopped it earlier or not, I couldn't say.
Yeah. So you got 4 games. The first is Spot the Video Game, which was on Amiga, Atari ST, DOS, Game Boy, and NES. Published in 1990 by Virgin Mastertronic, and it's like they said in the listener feedback, it's a simplified version of the Chinese board game Go.
Yeah. Good luck spotting the video game. It's just Go.
Yeah. Then you have Spot the Cool Adventure for Game Boy, which was released in 92 by Virgin. And it is just a port of the NES game McKids. And at this point, I realized I was going to have to cover McDonald's games in this episode, and I nearly just evacuated.
Wait a minute. They just took McKids and made it a 7-Up game?
It's not like that was a non-usual thing during that era. Plenty of games just got rebranded when they moved to different platforms.
Right, but don't they sell Sprite at McDonald's, not 7-Up?
Yeah, but Virgin made both games.
God damn it. It just seems like someone, business-wise, should have been upset about this.
Probably, but, it's not like they knew it was a video game. Who cares about that?
I would have never in a million years been like, hey, you remember the Game Boy port of McKids? It was Spot the Cool Adventure starring the 7-Up Spot.
Yeah. So then you have Cool Spot, which is the one that everybody remembers well. It's on Master System, Genesis, Game Gear, Amiga, Super NES, Game Boy, and DOS. Published in 93 by Virgin Games. It was a fairly generic platformer, but it had surprisingly advanced animations for the time.
Yeah, it was good looking.
Yeah, it was ranked the 88th best Super Nintendo game of all time by Complex.com, who I have to guess has only ever played 91 Super NES games ever.
It's a good...
it's an all right game.
It's an all right game.
I still own it.
I said it in the Discord. If I had rented it for a weekend, I wouldn't be upset, but I wouldn't rent it again. You know what I mean? It's one of those games where you're like, it's okay.
Yeah. I still own a copy, and I have played it more than a handful of times. I'm not going to claim that it's one of my favorites or that it's like a system seller or anything, but it's fun. It's fun to mess around with.
There was someone out there. Right. Someone out there was like, Mom, we have to get a Sega Genesis. No, I don't want the dumb hedgehog. I want fucking Cool Spot. Someone out there hammered their parents for a whole summer to get a fucking Genesis. And then they got it and they were like, oh,
I have Cool Spot now.
It came with that dumb hedgehog game too, right? Is that somewhere around here? Because it's got to be in the box.
Right. And then finally we have Spot Goes to Hollywood, which was on Genesis, Saturn, and PlayStation in 95, also by Virgin, obviously. And it was a isometric platformer that is not as well remembered as Cool Spot, which, as we remember, is the 88th best Super NES game of all time.
I defy you to name 87 better games than Cool Spot.
I'll work on it. I'll start writing my list now.
I just like that there was a Cool Spot game on Saturn. Even the Saturn wasn't spared. Cool Spot.
No, Spot Goes to Hollywood on Saturn. It wasn't Cool Spot.
Oh, pardon me.
He had moved to Hollywood by then.
Of course. To Hollywood.
What's that?
I was about to say, what else do we have? Get me out of this, please.
Oh, you're going to love where we're going. We're going to go to Chester Cheetah.
Oh, no.
For those who are not watching commercials in the U.S. in the 80s, 90s, or 2000s, Chester Cheetah is a talking cheetah who would really appreciate it if you ate more Cheetos.
I swear to God, I say it ain't easy being cheesy to my daughter at least 4 times a week.
Nice.
Usually as a completely nonsensical response to a question she's asked me. And I don't know why I never remembered that it's from Chester Cheetah until right now.
Yeah, it definitely is.
But it is definitely. So people, Chester Cheetah is Chester Cheetah still, I assume he's still on packages of Cheetos.
Yeah, I think he is. And they may even still use him in commercials. He's probably CGI and terrifying now.
Yeah, I've not seen a Cheetos commercial in, I can't even, I don't know how long.
It's because we don't watch Nickelodeon.
This is true.
That's probably where they are.
Let's see. He looks like a Funko Pop now. And he's currently he's got a voice actor, so he's doing
Still
something.
doing it.
You know, it was weird. I feel like Chester Cheetah had a big resurgence when Flaming Hot Cheetos came out.
Oh yeah.
Because for people,
and there was
that
a
were
brief
not
period of
around,
time when they started putting him in the adult-centered Cheetos ads too. He was no longer just a kid's mascot, but he was now suddenly a retro mascot.
Yeah. For people that don't remember Flaming Hot Cheetos coming out, they were a big fucking deal. People were like, they got spicy Cheetos now. And everyone lost their minds more than they did when they released non-puffy Cheetos.
I didn't like the non-puffy Cheetos.
Okay, first of all, crunchy Cheetos are the superior Cheeto. They don't get stuck all in your teeth. Second of all, do you remember those Cheetos that were shaped like little cheetah paw prints?
Yeah. I don't remember what they're called.
I just want to talk about them. I always ate Bugles anyway. I was a Bugle kid. I was that kid. Everyone's like, it's not worth eating a Bugle just to get your hands to look like witch fingers. But I thought it was. I'm sorry. Continue.
So there were 2 Chester Cheetah games.
Why?
First, we have Chester Cheetah in Too Cool to Fool, released on Super NES and Genesis in '92 by a company called Kaneko. Maybe Kaneko, I'm not sure. And it's a super generic platformer. It's not great, and it was received surprisingly well by critics at the time.
I wonder if maybe they sent some free Cheetos to some game magazines with their copies of the game.
Like, I imagine they got, like, oversized novelty cans of cheese puffs with it.
I have noticed that every now and then you see generic games, and this is still true today.
Yeah.
Every now and then you see generic games that are very generic by the standards of their genre, suddenly and out of nowhere get very good reviews.
Right.
And I think it usually happens when you hit an era where there's been a bit of a drought for that genre.
Right.
So I suspect in that particular area in 1992 when Chester Cheetah Too Cool to Fool came out, there just hadn't been a good platformer in a little while, which sounds ridiculous.
You mean the year after
Super
Mario World?
Yeah, well, everyone played the shit out of Super Mario World for a year, and they were like, what's next? What do you got next? And
you
nobody
mean the
wanted to follow
same
it
year
up.
as Sonic 2?
I retract my previous statement about Chester Cheetah Too Cool to Fool potentially coming during a drought.
Right.
I didn't know it released on or near Sonic Tuesday.
Yeah. So yeah, it got weirdly positive reviews. Like if you go back and look at it, like it got a lot of 7s and 8s.
Someone out there likes Chester Cheetah Too Cool to Fool more than Sonic 2.
Somebody out there likes it more than Cool Spot, and they're gonna have a fight with our listeners.
Someone out there is like, Mom, listen. I know I said I needed the Genesis, and I know I said I needed it for Cool Spot, but listen, Cool Spot was shit, Mom. It was shit. There is a game starring a cheetah that wants me to eat Cheetos. It is called Chester Cheetah Too Cool to Fool, and if you don't get it for me, I'm going to freak out.
That was the year before Cool Spot, too.
Well, maybe this was his introduction to the Genesis, and he was like, Cool Spot will redeem what Chester Cheetah Too Cool to Fool was.
Right. So, and then, of course, there was a sequel. The next year, there was Chester Cheetah Wild Wild Quest.
Oh, no.
And it was released in '93 by Kaneko. And I stole this from Wiki. GamePro magazine called it high on the list of unnecessary sequels and said, like the cheese puffs themselves, Chester might sound like a tempting idea, but you'll get no nourishment and you'll soon be hungry again.
For GamePro to use that much food-related copy in their review, they had to have been given free Cheetos with the game. That sentence is... There's no way that wasn't written by a person that literally just finished a too small bag of Cheetos and was still hungry.
Yeah, somebody who still had Cheeto dust on their hand.
And then over at Cheetos HQ, they're like, shit, we should have sent them the big bag again like we did for the first game.
Did we run out of family size or something?
No, I quit making them.
Yeah, so that's the history of Chester Cheetah in video gaming. He actually appeared on the cover of Game Informer on, I want to say, their second or third issue, advertising that first game.
Fucking kidding me.
Yeah.
I mean, Nintendo Power had some real shit on the front of their magazine, but Nintendo Power basically never had any real integrity. It was always kind of an advertisement.
Right. But it didn't have Chester Cheetah on the cover.
Oh, man.
Then we get into McDonald's territory. So, for those who haven't seen any commercials, I guess, in any country in the last 70 or so years, McDonald's makes hamburgers.
They do.
Also, there was McDonald's Land for a very long time. And
what the fuck is that?
Is it? I don't think it's still a thing anymore, but it was this whole fantasy universe that McDonald's created, where you had characters like Ronald and Grimace and Birdie,
Hamburglar,
Hamburglar,
and
Birdie
Weird
the
Duck
early
Lady.
bird.
Yeah,
you had Mayor McCheese. You had the constable, who's Constable Big Mac.
I don't remember most of these characters, except in kind of some of the later McDonald Land advertising, where they were kind of there, but almost kind of as a joke or a throwback.
Yeah.
But I do remember the McDonald's transforming toys from that era.
Right. And also there was every McDonald's playground for years was shaped like those characters.
I do remember being a kid and them having those. But they probably kept those for many years after the advertising ended.
Yeah, and until they started building play place at every McDonald's, they still used those.
And every now and then you can still you don't even really see Ronald McDonald at McDonald's very much anymore. He's not very heavily associated with.
Apparently they
brand.
redesigned him into some terrifying looking creature.
Yeah, and so what's even weirder is that if you go to really rundown McDonald's, some of them still have some of this old shit. You'll see a Grimace by the bathroom, and you're like, "What the fuck is that?"
Right.
And it's just been there for 30 years,
right?
And nobody took it down.
Or they a lot of them still have that statue on a bench of Ronald with his hand across the back of the bench, so that you can sit next to Ronald. Yeah. And at newer or nicer McDonald's, that statue is kept in good condition, and at older ones, it's missing paint and starting to chip. Just creepy.
Yeah. My preferred McDonald's as a child was the one inside of Walmart. So I grew up in the suburbs, if you couldn't tell. And they had the bench with Ronald, and I loved sitting there because I didn't have to sit next to another person, but I still got to feel like I had company.
Nice. Yeah, I don't remember seeing a McDonald's inside of a Walmart until at least when I was in high school, if not after that. So I did not have that experience.
Yeah, that was mine. That was my preferred McDonald's. Anyway, the games.
Yeah, so there's 4 of them. First was Donald Land, which I feel like they forgot part of the title there. It was released in '88 by Data East.
Data East, why? The year I was born, too. It didn't come out in September by chance, did it?
I don't have an exact date.
I might be the harbinger for Donald Land on Famicom, and I don't even know it.
Yeah, Japan only, obviously. You play as Ronald McDonald and throw bombs at feral animals.
What?
Yeah, and you have to save the other
murder animals with explosives?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like little cherry bombs and stuff. You just throw bombs at shit.
Oh, man.
Also, It looks nothing like Ronald McDonald.
It's because it probably isn't.
It's probably just some unrelated game Data East made. And then Data East Japan was like, hey, we got a license for McDonald's Japan.
They're like, it was going to be Werewolf 2, but I guess it can be McDonald Land or whatever.
Forget the Mick. Just call it Donald Land.
Donald Land.
Yeah. And then you have Mick Kids or MC Kids.
I think it does have periods. It is supposed to be MC Kids, but everyone says Mick Kids.
Yeah, that's what I always heard
because
too.
it's a fucking McDonald's game.
Right. In Europe, it was called McDonald Land. which is weird because it doesn't have too many McDonald Land characters, I don't think. I mean, maybe it does.
Yeah.
It was on the NES, the Commodore 64, the Amiga, the Atari ST, and on DOS. And as we mentioned before, it was also on Game Boy as Spot something.
Yes.
Released in 92 by Virgin. It is a platformer where you play as Mick or Mac in McDonald Land. And since I have not played more than the intro of the game, I just basically stole this from Wikipedia. In a similar format as Super Mario Brothers 3 or Star Tropics, because basically the same game.
Those two very similar games.
The game has 7 different worlds. Each one starts out with a visit to a McDonald Land character. However, unlike games such as Super Mario Bros. 3, simply defeating the various levels is not enough for success. McDonald's franchise imagery found in the game includes the various characters from restaurants and television commercials, and McDonald Land cards and golden arches, all of which are variously available for plot advancement and as power-ups.
I like that whoever wrote that on Wikipedia obviously cited Mario 3 because it also has 7 worlds, except Mario 3 has 8 worlds.
Right. And I think, if I remember right, Star Tropics has 7 chapters in one world. Well,
I've played MC Kids. It really does kind of try to be Mario 3. It's got the overworld that looks kind of Mario 3-ish. It has sort of those, I don't want to use the word slippery to refer to Mario physics, but there is a little bit of slipperiness to the controls in the game. But it's too much, and the levels are poorly designed. And every now and then, you'll run into this wonderful piece of level design where it's these blocks with a left-facing arrow, and you get most of the way through the first level, and you think, what do those do? Well, if you touch them, they literally trebuchet launch you back to the beginning of the level. Just do it again. You didn't die. We're not going to make you game over, but we're going to make you fucking, catapult back to the beginning of the level. Do it again.
It's not a fail. It's a retry.
It's again, like so many of these promotional games, if I rented it, I wouldn't be upset, but I wouldn't rent it again.
Right. Yeah.
Basically.
I always saw it on the rental shelf and was like, no, I'm too proud to rent the McDonald's game.
Yeah.
And then you have Global Gladiators featuring Mick and Mac, which for years, I didn't even realize it was a McDonald's game whenever I would see it on the shelf at the rental store.
Yeah.
But it was on Master System, Genesis, Game Gear, and Amiga, 92 by Virgin Games. And Mick and Mac return with super soakers filled with ooze to save McDonald Land.
I'm not even going to touch it. Just
keep on going. There were NES, Super NES, and Game Boy versions that were planned but never released for undisclosed legal reasons. I have no idea what those legal reasons
So it only hit the Master
be.
System, Genesis, Game Gear, and Amiga.
Yeah.
All right, then.
Right? And then you have McDonald's Treasureland Adventure.
Which I do want to note is the first game by McDonald's that says, in America at least, that says McDonald in the title.
That's true. The rest of them had a McDonald's logo usually on the cover.
True, but MC Kids is MC Kids, not Mick Kids. Global Gladiators says nothing about McDonald's.
Right.
Donald Land doesn't even say McDonald. McDonald Land, as the European version of MC Kids, is the first game
that
even says McDonald.
Yeah. Yeah, so this one was Genesis 1993, developed by Treasure and published by Sega. It is another McDonald Land adventure, but it's not terrible. It plays like most Treasure developed platformers of the area, so it's actually pretty good. I wouldn't say it's great, but it's good.
Right. Would you say the best of this list so far?
Yes.
That we've covered this episode?
Yeah, going back and looking at everything, I'm going to go ahead and say yes.
Are you sure that the MC Kids port to Game Boy renamed to Spot the Cool Adventure isn't superior?
No, I'm going to stick with this one, with my second choice being Yo-Noid. That's my evaluation.
I mean, we're also contending with the 88th best SNES game of all time, which is
that's true. I don't know how I can compete with that. That's the ones I was going to go through in depth. I did write in some honorable mentions here.
Right.
You've got All Night Nippon Super Mario Brothers, which was just Super Mario Brothers, but reskinned to have characters from a Japanese radio show.
Yeah.
Of course, Yumi Kojo, Doki Doki Panic, which is famously became Super Mario Brothers 2 when it came to America, but was based on a TV event. The Sega to Sanshiro game on Sega Saturn, which is based on Sega's own commercials.
Yeah.
And then Pepsi Man, which was mentioned, which is a PlayStation in Japan and based on the Japanese Pepsi commercials.
Yeah, and Pepsi, I honestly, I don't even know why we didn't cover Pepsi Man, because it's not like we can do an episode on Pepsi Man, because I'd rather just never do that.
Yeah. Well, because it's very Japan-centric, and so we didn't experience those commercials like people in Japan would have. So I didn't want to go into that.
As far as final thoughts, these kinds of weird promotional things still happen.
Yeah.
Like there was just a KFC, whatever, I Love You,
KF
Colonel
console?
Sanders dating game. Do what?
The KF console?
No, not the KF console. That didn't come out, but there is a Colonel Sanders dating game on Steam right now. It's free. It's in my Steam library.
That's right.
You can play that for free. Games, producing an entire game these days as a promotional product is a big ask, but you do still see a lot of promotional stuff that's not just product placement, like the cup noodle stuff in Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah,
is
also,
another great
because console game development has gotten so expensive lately. We're seeing more of these promo games moving to mobile. You're seeing a ton of them on the mobile market.
Oh yeah, basically, if it's a thing ever, there's a mobile game for it. So, I don't know. Like in some ways, as much as I don't really love any game on this list. I kind of hate that it's been relegated to the I hope dying mobile market, but I know it still rakes in billions of dollars. I think I just wish it would die. But yeah, and it's funny. We were talking in our Discord, and a lot of people have a lot of love for games on this list.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which surprised me, honestly, because there's not a lot of good games on this list.
Oh, hold on. I'm pretty sure that the 88th best Super NES game of all time is on this list.
I like that the highest claim made this episode is that Cool Spot was the 88th best SNES game. And even that was so laughable that we won't quit making fun of it.
And the thing is, I enjoy Cool Spot. It's a game I go back and play every now and then, and I still have to laugh because that's the dumbest fucking ranking.
This is just some weird shit. That's all I have to say. Yeah. Promotional license games, weird, and like you said, they're basically just phone games now. So what a weird.
I am still upset that I never got my stealth action game based on the Rice Krispies elves.
It's also weird that the Keebler elves never had their own game. They seem perfect.
Or the Cinnamon Toast Crunch Bakers.
The who?
The Cinnamon Toast Crunch Bakers, the three guys that bake the cereal.
I have no idea who you're talking about.
Okay. There's Wendell, and then there was two others that they retired.
Sorry, you know their names off the top of your head?
Yeah.
No, I don't. I don't remember them. By the time I was watching cereal commercials, Cookie Crisp had the bandit and the wolf.
Well, it had a robber and a police officer in the 80s, and then eventually it was that wolf, and then it was a dog, I think.
I don't remember the baker. The Cinnamon Toast Crunch Baker.
Is he not still on the box?
I remember him, but I don't remember him in the commercials.
Oh. Yeah.
Wendell.
Yeah.
Why would they name him Wendell? Anyway, we're off the rails. Weird games. 88th best SNES game. So if you're playing the top 100 SNES games, then play Cool Spot.
Yeah, make sure you get your Cool Spot in there.
But yeah, what a weird thing. Thank you for listening to our weird show where we mostly talked about cereal and Cheetos. But it was a good time.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. We hope you did. And if you enjoyed it and would like to give something back to us for providing this enjoyment to you, then you can go rate and review us on iTunes or support the show financially at patreon.com/retrowarriors, where you can get cool things like our spinoff show, Talking Wizards, in which we extensively discuss cereal for many episodes in a row.
In case you needed more of this.
Yeah, in case you're just like, no, I want to hear Justin talk about Frosted Flakes Lucky Charms for 30 minutes. It's there. It exists. But we would love for you to do that. If You wanted to. Anyways, thank you for listening. We'll be back next week with some more stuff and things. And as always, let us cling together.